Hey guys, so we're back with another video. This time we'll be talking about episode 8 of Game of Thrones House of Dragon review. Now, I did promise that we covered episodes 6 and 7. We started seeing the climax started happening, but I believe what made it more impeccable that we're gonna get something spectacular in the last two episodes is episode 8. Episode 8 is titled The King's Landing, or the we could better call it for episode 8 is titled it has a strange title. It's called the Awkwardly Gather. It's more like an awkwardly gathering of the family. We saw a lot of things this episode, and I think what made it more profound was that, we started seeing the Greens. Yeah, the episode is titled The Lords of Tides, which we started seeing the different lords of the seven kingdoms started gathering for not only the court meetings, but we started seeing there's a separation of colors, such as the greens and the blacks, and the two families that makes up the Targaryen family. We started seeing them, how they started corroding away from each other. Queen Alicent became the greens, and Rhaenyra became the blacks, and her sons, which some of the lords of high seas mentioned that the sons, they considered the sons as like bastards because they don't have the traditional, like I mentioned before, they don't have the traditional Targaryen hair, which is even more messed up because Princess or Queen Alicent at that time, when her father made her the queen, she started thinking about, because I'm now the wife of the king, I'm able to oppose some of the laws on my husband. And you know that the king is like, we started seeing more and more of the King Viserys, and how he's getting older and older, and he's getting more sick, and how, we saw later on in the previous episode, we saw that Rhaenyra gave birth to the two sons. We mentioned that, both sons, Luke and Jos, also like really started like, playing their roles as like bloodlines to the next bloodline. And Queen Alicent's dad mentioned that, if Rhaenyra managed to become queen, that will exile her entire kids from the succession, Alicent kids. But we saw in the meeting room when they was having the family gathering, even the two soldiers that literally were on the same side became opposite. Like the two twin soldiers, one side is standing on Rhaenyra's side, and the other side is standing on Queen Alicent's side, which is showing that the respective loyalty for both sides of the family. And we even saw that, the king finally made an appearance, almost like having like a last meeting or stuff, like eating area with like the king and stuff. And we saw that like in their like teenage high years, the High Tower, as well as like the different Aemon played the last king of Viserys, which perhaps like they were like mid-young, I would say, at around like their teen age. And then another shot shows like Alicent looking back at the both of them, because he's always bugging like the other brother. I remember, I forgot Aegon, or Aegon is like the oldest, and the other one with the missing eye, I know that he became so stubborn and outlandish of how he treats his other siblings, and how he treats everyone in total. Like, he really is a messed up person. And Alicent started realizing that her father put the better of his interest into her in order for her to try to take over Rhaenyra's spot to rule her entire family, because their significant looks more like the Targaryen, which is the blonde hair, like I mentioned, with the pale blonde hair. And that they trying to gain more dragons. And even then, like a definition of declaring that there's war is that one side is showing that war is coming towards King's Landing and the Seven Kingdoms. Because the two families cannot cooperate to find like a successor, we saw that episode 8 really like went to full circle. The faith of Driftmark and Driftwood's throne, how each of the lords of Tide, the kings and Place Landing, and all of them were like deciding like who should be best to rule. Above that, we saw that Rhaenyra Viserys and the granddaughter of Bella Targaryen are now played by, it's been a lot of different updates on that. Like they grown up, Bella Targaryen, and I forgot what's the other one, the brother-in-law, Vermund of Targaryen, will also be playing in both of those factors. So we saw that, the different courts on episode 8, like, which is everybody went back to like they got a letter indicating that they have to go to like King's Landing or the Black Court, where we see the Greens and the Blacks will gather to debate on who should sit on the Iron Throne. We seen the Greens and the throne room in the trailer. We saw that in the trailer when we were seeing that, and this photo better depicts like what's gonna be happening. We saw that at the moment Rhaenyra showed up, and the look that Rhaenyra gave looked pretty stunning. Like Rhaenyra Targaryen she's more grown now. I remember we mentioned that episode 6 and episode 7 showed there was a time skip, 10 years or 15 years has passed, and how those characters have became adults, they grown into their own. We started seeing that the Rhaenyra showed up at the courtroom, and we even see how the house is basically split into who will be the succession to the Lords of Tides of Driftmark. Rhaenyra's son Lorcris is next in line for the Driftmark throne, but it's pretty sure it's clear that, and even in the trailer they mentioned, Vermors Targaryen will have a problem with that. He is in at the court, and with Rhaenyra Valerian and Bella Targaryen in the background. So we even saw that as well. Like we started seeing Belmar Targaryen. Last shot shows that Daemon Targaryen was looking at the king, and I remember the king was also in the courtroom. Even though the king was sick, the king acts like, out of everyone in the courtroom, who is doubted that my son or my daughter should not rule, or all of his bloodline should not rule. And he had a problem saying that, he don't believe they carry the Targaryen blood, because just look at them, like they're bastards. And the king was like, if you say that one more time, I'll have your tongue, or anybody that questions my daughter's children of lineage will get their tongue or head cut off. So he was the only person that spoke, said that. And then I remember Damien was saying that, I want him to say it, like say it. And when he said, he's like, don't you look, everybody knows they don't carry the Targaryen genes, they don't even have the proper long hair, he said. And he mentioned outly, he said these children are bastards. And since he said that, they cut off his head, they sliced that shit. Like, it was so graphic. But the king was like, anybody that spoke anything further will have their hands or head severed because of that. And we even saw that the king, even though in his last days he tried his best to make certain things right, but I feel as if we have gone past the part of no return, where for each family to forgive each other. Even though, as when the kids were growing up, one of them actually got hit. Alicent kid got hit because he literally trying to take the mother dragon from Valeria Targaryen, but from what we saw, it didn't come out successfully. So throughout the whole show for episode 8, we started seeing the setup for episode 9 and episode 10, where we started seeing, even on the deathbed, the king was getting more and more sick, and he was wearing even like a it felt like a side mask. It felt like a side mask, and that side mask covered like the eye part and everything. So which we'll be discussing on the last 2 episodes. But guys, this episode was such a crazy episode, and I cannot wait to see the next episode. If you want to be part of the Cosmic Club, make sure you guys like and subscribe and follow up for the last 2 episodes, so as we move on to the Bleach Thousand Year Blood War